Data Storytellers, another long-awaited episode on the Data Storytellers podcast. Today, I'm speaking to Alex Dragan from Four Seasons, and I remember I connected with Alex last year, and I think even in our first conversation, we already talked about him potentially coming on the podcast. It's been months, maybe almost a year since that happened, so I'm glad we could finally make it happen. So, Alex, welcome on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad that we made it happen. And I remember that conversation and I joined the masterclass, quite an interesting experience. So very excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we followed up after you attended the masterclass, had a bunch of good conversations, and I just wanted to explore some of those things now on the air and share the fruits with our community. So first of all, how did you get into the world of analytics? I don't think I've asked you that question, so it's a good way to start.
It's a good way to start. Maybe I should start with the disclaimer. So I want to make sure I state that I am not speaking on behalf of my employer, Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, and these are my own and personal opinions. How I start in analytics. About 20 years ago, I decided to go to business school, but I did a lot of coding in high school. I graduated in Europe, a business administration university, and I moved to Canada with kind of both a business side and a bit of a technical side. And I worked for a few years in marketing analysis across few industries, both in Europe and Canada, including construction materials, manufacturing, and wholesale publishing, tax, and software development. And about 15 years ago, I know it sounds like a very long time ago, I joined Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts as a marketing analyst. And I built my career in this company. My first job was around guest analytics and web performance, web analytics. And I moved into competitive benchmarking, moved to revenue management a few years later. I did bit of distribution analytics and pricing. I was part of the team that developed the first enterprise BI tool for Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. I took over sales analytics, and I was also part of the team that launched a brand new CRM platform for the company. I managed marketing performance via hotel scorecards and corporate scorecards, and the big opportunity came in 2021 when our senior leadership decided to make some strategic decisions and clear some technical debt and invest heavily in data and analytics, recognizing it as a foundational enabler for the company's strategy. And it's been really fun, a great inflection point. We defined our data strategy. We created a solid operating model. We moved our analytics infrastructure into the cloud and added some good resources to support multiple lines of business. And also in parallel, we internalized some of the capabilities like data science and data engineering, which we've done previously with third parties, and formalized the data governance strategy as well. So quite a long journey. How I ended in analytics, I think, is just a good mix of business and technical. And then how I ended up in Four Seasons, I would say by accident first, and then I fell in love with this amazing company, with the people, and all the amazing experiences and products that we have around the world.
So you seem quite invested in their success, and of course, I imagine that you wouldn't want to take too much credit. But what role did you play in that strategic decision that they made? You know, I mean, even as a marketing analyst, when you joined, like from your perspective, how did you contribute in making the company more data driven, even when you were not the senior director of data science and analytics?
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to take as much credit as possible. At the same time, I recognize that I think by really putting in a lot of hard work and developing a small team at a time and showing small wins around the organization across multiple areas, across multiple departments. I think the strategic decision was done. Yes, I will take some credit because they have recognized the importance of analytics based on past work that we've done. At the same time, the company reached a maturity level that showed us that there are significant opportunities for growth, not only in the hotels and resorts, but even beyond that space. And for that, we want to make sure we have a cohesive and consistent data strategy to enable the commercial strategy of the company.
Got it. So maybe a good segue into some of the topics would be that, I reached out to you, I think it was last year, so 2022. So why did you join the masterclass? Like, it probably connected with, and I do remember with some of your focus areas at the time, so some of the things that you were excited about, interested in to explore more with your peers. So what were your main motivations actually joining at the time? Where did you want to really develop your career, and what were some of those areas that you thought that there's even more opportunity for you guys and for you as a professional?
I think I made a joke with you back then. I said this is free therapy because you get all these individuals in your area, so you have a great opportunity to vent and discuss about current challenges and current opportunities. But setting the joke aside, it was a really amazing opportunity to connect, and I actually kept in touch with some of the participants and really understand that we do have the same challenges and at the same time, same opportunities ahead. So lots of good opportunities to learn for all of us.
Absolutely. And actually, I did then follow up with a bunch of you, and we're creating some content, including you. I think just like Scott, Ranajai, Anand, like a bunch of you guys, like really good insights. Now, what were some of your insights after the masterclass as we spoke? And I think we spent some time on what were some of your favorite learnings, your key takeaways, and this might actually even connect to what you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities right now in the industry. So what do you think are some of those hotspots?
Quite a few, and I think the masterclass was a really good place to validate some of the observations I've had over the years. We are getting to an interesting point in this industry where we're seeing the data complexity keep growing. So I think we have more data than we've ever had, and I think with everything is becoming digital, and with the proliferation of digital, data has increased exponentially. Now, analytics is not about analyzing simple structured tables. It's semi-structured, it's unstructured data. Now we can analyze not only text, but the numbers. We can analyze text, images, videos. And even my company, we probably have 100 applications in the hotels collecting data on a day-to-day basis. So imagine the complexity of the data has grown significantly, which comes with some challenges. And the challenges are data quality and integration. So the bigger the data gets, the more difficult it is to maintain the quality of the data and to integrate multiple data sources. So maintaining that across the multiple data sources, the multiple data assets remains a significant challenge in my opinion. And the integration piece requires really specialized skills and also very careful planning and execution, I would say. Another trend I'm noticing, the complexity of the data, number one, the advancement of analytics techniques. We are seeing an unprecedented growth in that area with machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing. While in the past we were talking about a simple regression or algorithm, now AI and ML is very prominent. And I think that gives opportunities for organizations to get deeper insights into their performance, into their guest base, gives opportunities for more automation and make more accurate predictions. On the downside, you create a perfect storm because you cannot keep up, and there's not enough skilled workforce. And that was one of the themes in masterclass, where in many markets, there are not enough skilled data analysts, data scientists, and other professionals. And maybe 10, 15 years ago, you were looking for a unicorn that can do everything, but things got pretty specialized now. So you need to get more specialized resources, and finding, attracting, and also retaining talent with good expertise in analytics. It's difficult in my opinion. Another theme I'm also seeing, I think it started a bit before COVID, but it's continuing. It's around data privacy and ethics of the data. So the data has increased exponentially, and now we have to navigate through a lot of regulations. It's not only GDPR. I think that was a trailblazer, but now we're seeing significantly more privacy laws around the world, and we have to comply, and that adds even more complexity, not to the data itself, but in how we utilize the data from an analytics perspective, but also personalization, activation as well. So again, careful planning and attention, as I mentioned before. So those probably, in my opinion, are the big ones. Other themes, cloud, everyone's talking about cloud. Be careful, it's not going to be cheaper as everyone pitched that cloud idea as on-prem to cloud. It's a money-saving opportunity. I don't think it is, but it brings a lot of sophistication, a lot of additional services. I think it helps really with democratization of analytics across the enterprise. And I think those two are playing a significant role into increasing the data literacy. And by increasing the data literacy of the organization, I think that is the next step into becoming a true data-driven organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I know lots of lots of themes.
I took a bunch
but
of notes, and there's so much to explore here. So no, that's a great panorama, I think. Yeah, we spoke about a bunch of these topics. I even have some that we did not mention explicitly here just yet, but I have it in my pocket. But before we get into that, so you mentioned data quality and integration first as like a big challenge. Okay, so is this challenge like a purely technical issue, or from your perspective, there are other elements in this? And how heavily is this purely about, okay, look, we just need the right technology, we need the right service, or is there something in the way of not getting the right data quality with the integration that you want, other than purely the tech?
Oh, it's both, absolutely. So technology is, how we get there, is the vehicle that takes us there. But think about an organization that collects data every single day, like an unnamed hospitality player, leader in luxury hospitality. We collect data across 100 applications every day, and our focus is on offering an amazing experience. And most of the time, the people responsible for entering the data are some of the most junior members of that outlet, of that unit, right? And there's a lot of guidance, and they are being pressured to offer that exceptional experience. And I think we need to balance that quite carefully, because that has a significant impact on how we offer the further experience and the further personalization opportunities when the data that's being entered is not accurate. So the challenges with quality of data, I don't think it's technology. I don't think it's people. I think it's a bit of both. It's both technology and people and process. That's why building a solid data governance strategy anchored solid in the overall data strategy is critical.
What were the keys? So when you think about governance and creating that governance strategy that will actually have traction, that people will actually comply with? It won't introduce too much friction in the organization. What have you seen as the keys for its success, and maybe some of the pitfalls that either you experienced or heard from others?
Well, I think it's how you build your data governance strategy first, and there are a lot of decisions that you have to make up front that are supporting that. So you need to have a solid operating model to support data governance, and good executive support, and executive buy-in, and executive sponsorship. You want to make sure you apply general frameworks to your company, because all companies are unique, and the policies, the procedures, the standards that govern make sense for the company, and it's not really a one size fits all. Also, data quality management, and we want to have the ability to ensure the accuracy, the completeness of the data. So having a good data quality program, and being able to measure the results of your data quality program is quite fundamental. Privacy and security, ensuring all teams come together to protect sensitive data. Our guests, our customers are handing us a lot of sensitive data, and the legal teams, the IT teams, we all have to come together and agree that that data is our guests' data, and we have to protect it from unauthorized access. And the nitty-gritty things that are probably not the sexiest things in a company, but data classification and data cataloging, which a lot of analysts feel that that's a bit of a drag on their work, but we push our analytics resources to spend 10-20% of their time to ensure everything is properly documented. We have the right classifications in the system. We have the right data glossary, the right data dictionaries. And then all other areas, the partnership with IT to ensure the lineage and traceability of the data. And that all builds into that notion of single source of truth. And it's people, technology, and process. You want to make sure you have the right structure with the right level of ownership and stewardship around the data. So I've seen it going very well in some areas where the business was supporting it, and I've seen it not going well when data governance was just a set of policies or a set of standards, and no follow-up on auditing and ensuring the implementation of it. So it's not a big bang activity. It's not a huge launch. We have launched data governance. I feel like data governance is truly day-to-day, very tactical. Once you build your framework, it's a very tactical day-to-day activity that leads to those higher level objectives.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. And you mentioned, I think, of the first thing, the operating model. And this is something that we spoke about. A lot of our community members are interested in this. Like, okay, with the operating model, and analytics operating model, I assume that that's what you meant. Is like, am I doing centralized? Should I do decentralized? Is it like hub and spoke? And I think you had a take on this. So would you just introduce your perspective on this particular topic? What kind of operating model should you choose, and some of those experiences?
Doom, 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 drum rolls, right? It's not going to be a drum roll moment, because I think it's all different. It's all different, and it's all based on the company's structure, the goals, the culture of the company, and you have to take all that into account. I think all models have, obviously companies are using centralized models, decentralized. I can just tell you a little bit about my journey. And I feel like when I started, it's been a fully decentralized model. And in a decentralized model, you feel like everything is moving super fast. And it has a lot of good advantages. You're building good technical expertise in the domain, the data domain. You have the analytics teams embedded into the business. You ensure there's close collaboration. So good advantages, but also huge disadvantages. And those are around data governance and standardization. You have no opportunities to do that properly. And also, you don't have the advantage of having a central team coming up with the right processes and ways of working. And you end up with some departments doing a really amazing job and some others not doing a great job. And you create unnecessary competition and you create unnecessary drama. And I think that's challenging when the organization is not truly data driven. The decentralized model probably not great. The fully centralized model in a large organization, in theory, has a lot of advantages. You have the best optimization of resources. Standardization is all at the top, so everything it's facilitated at the center. You have great knowledge center sharing. But the challenge is you need to align with the business unit. So in a fully centralized model, it's important to establish those strong relationship and partnership with the business unit to understand their specific needs and priorities. So the centralized model works when you have absolutely crisp and sharp strategy and all business domains are running in the absolutely same direction at the same speed. And I love that. And I feel like we built that in my department. I represent the commercial team at the Four Seasons corporate office. And I feel like I do have a centralized model within the commercial department where the resources are part of my team. And I have central resources around data governance and data engineering and data science, but I also have business partnering where I have analysts embedded into each business unit. So the centralized model really works in that environment. The hub and spoke is, portion of the capabilities are sitting at the center and the portion of the capabilities sit in the business unit. I think as the companies get to a specific maturity level in terms of data and analytics, my personal view is a large enterprise would benefit. A large enterprise with a good data-driven mindset probably would benefit best from a hub and spoke model because you are controlling the key capabilities at the center. At the same time, you are really pushing for innovation and creativity, which most of the time happens in the business unit.
And then also that presence in the business unit, that kind of sense of camaraderie. I think that's how Brian from Pepsi, we did a podcast, and he was one of your fellow attendees. That's how he branded it. It's like kind of like a Lean Six Sigma term. That's how you can develop that, and that's how usually you can actually acquire that understanding that is required to do innovation, to actually like push the envelope. And you mentioned something that's also critical in that formula, and this was the second thing that you pointed out, was executive buy-in and sponsorship. So what did you find was the key for you to get that buy-in, but also to sustain that buy-in constantly, to make sure that these senior stakeholders whose support you depend on are constantly engaged?
That's a loaded question. It's a really good question. How do you get executive buy-in? Well, I think there are multiple lenses to that. It's how you show value of your organization. So you're not pushing. Analytics is not something you push out and say, hey, I have amazing new products. It's something that you're an agent of change in the organization. And how you do that is through constant education. And then in terms of methods, I can give some examples in my areas. You want to make sure you always bring case studies and success stories forward, and being able to demonstrate tangible benefits and outcomes. And that really positions the analytics teams for success, because they should be able to talk about the business benefits, not about the model performance or the quality or the responsiveness of a particular dashboard. So we need to bring success stories tied to analytics. We need to talk about business outcomes tied to analytics. We need to be able to demonstrate that we can generate proof of concepts with the team, and fail fast forward. You can fail. Not everything that you're trying will have a positive outcome. But if you're running this small scale proof of concepts, again, you are showing the feasibility of analytics initiatives. And before you spend millions of dollars and you build a waterfall a plan for 5 years, and then by the time you deliver the product, the leadership is no longer there, you should be able to have a very strong gating process and run things through Agile and really bring this concept of quick POCs that demonstrate business value. And then as you see that things are getting more mature in the organization, you bring the level of monitoring at executive level and ensure you have the right dashboards in place and you have the right insights for the executives, where they should see that their strategies are being measured accordingly. They are being measured, they are being monitored, and providing that information in a visually appealing format can quickly get the impact of your initiatives. Storytelling is another way, another key element, and storytelling and analytics should be best friends. They are not, unfortunately, sometimes because of the level of specialization of some of the analytics resources. And that's where I invest a lot of time and resources to ensure our analytics leaders, managers are good storytellers, and they understand that being able to tell that story to a business audience will make a significantly better impact. So with storytelling, you want to build communication, presentation skills. And then, last but not least, I think 10 years ago, everyone was talking about BI and developing the pixel perfect dashboards. And I think that's still important. Data visualization tools are important. My point of view, it's the agility probably is more important than building a dashboard that will last for the next 10 years. Reality is everything is moving extremely fast these days. So you want to make sure you choose the platform that allows you to build visualization, compelling tools that you can build them fast, and you can deliver fast to your users. So those are. Was that the question? I went on a tangent of
it was a huge question, and you gave a really cool answer, actually addressing multiple aspects of that large enterprise of, okay, how do I keep these key stakeholders engaged? And I think you treated this from multiple angles with the proper depth and respect. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And actually, you mentioned a few very interesting things there. So, and I'm kind of drawing a connection here between, you mentioned this issue with, look, it's really hard to get specialized workforce, especially now with the demand on data quality, but just in general, the multiplicity of tools. First of all, can we clarify what you mean by this highly specialized workforce? What kind of specializations are you referring to here?
I think it's it's multiple lenses as well. But what I was referring to is truly around the tooling that you are. We all went. Most of us went to cloud technologies, and those technologies are expanding and moving so rapidly. You got to keep up with that. So in a in a market like Toronto, where I'm located, it's quite difficult to find Microsoft Azure data engineers or data scientists that have experience with a specific ML technology. I'm not going to name it, but a specific ML machine learning technology. So, you have a large pool of data scientists that grew their career as researchers, maybe market research, their PhDs. They don't have the experience of productionalizing the models. And that's critical now as we're moving all this technology into the cloud. So that's what I was referring to when I talk about highly specialized. I think it's the technology that you are signing up in terms of cloud that will inform your hiring decisions.
Mm-hmm. So when you mentioned storytelling, you kind of did that with almost like the caveat of, look, with my managers, I always make sure that they can tell these powerful stories. I just had a conversation about this also with one of your fellow participants, Ranajai from Citizen Watch, and we zoomed in on that a little bit. So would you, with those highly specialized people on your team, would you still see the benefit of making them more well-rounded with skills in business understanding and storytelling and soft skills and communications? Or do you think it's actually worth keeping them highly specialized and maybe even more specialized on that one dimension of tech? That's the first question, and I will have a follow-up question on that.
I think I get where you're trying to lead me. I think no, I'm not gonna force anyone to do anything. I think it's all about where they want to be, right? Because the field of analytics is no longer, I need technical developers and I need users of the tool. I think if you look back 10, 15 years ago, those are kind of the two options. But now, in order to run an analytics department and to be a true transformational leader, you need way more than that. So I think I'm observing even within my teams kind of the level of interest of everyone, and I think it's important to guide them to the right place. They can become highly specialized. They can be a functional leader because that's required if you are in certain areas. If you're leading specific data science implementation, for example. But if you have also individuals who are trying to become more holistic leaders in the organization, I think the traits and the skills and their exposure should be a bit different. So your technical level should be reduced a bit, and then other soft skills are coming into place.
Mm-hmm. And actually, like with this, it was like I tried not to lead the witness too much because there are different leadership philosophies on that, right? And would you say that if someone would want to develop, so professionally develop, who has people who have the ambition to actually gain more and more responsibility, then would you say that in those cases, then that kind of complementary skill set is like absolutely crucial? Now, this is more like a leading question, but I'm also going somewhere with that. So from the professional development perspective, also if you think about your team, where are you trying to push them? Where do you feel like the bottleneck in terms of them creating more value from even their technical skills?
I don't think it should be any bottleneck. I think what I'm trying to communicate and to my team and even beyond my team, to my peers and also the executive teams, data and analytics is really it's a business transformation capability in the organization. And my goal and my team's goal is to support the company's strategy and to enable the organization to make decisions informed by data and analytics. And what's required, it's a very unique set of skills that you get out of not only one individual, but a full team. And, strong leadership sits at the center. You should have strong leadership in all members of your team, including yourself. Also, I want to make sure we have clarity on our vision, and we have a strategic vision to support our growth, but also the technical expertise that we talked about, also business acumen to be able to really drive a data-driven transformation in the organization. And if I can zoom in on a couple of this, I think strategic vision is critical in data and analytics. You need to understand the company strategy and the direction of the company, because what you're delivering has to be aligned with the organization's goals. Four Seasons, we are a premier luxury brand in the world, and if you look at our ecosystem, we have multiple constituents. So we have the guest, which sits in the center, and we have to focus our energies around the guest. At the same time, employees are critical, because a happy employee also has the ability to deliver great service. Our shareholders are important, because they are the ones that are making decisions to invest and increase their exposure to the company. Also, individual hotel owners are super critical for us, because they are the ones that put their trust in the brand, and they want to generate profit for their assets. And last but not least, a great network of business-to-business partners that are actually selling or Four Seasons on behalf of, they're selling the product on behalf of Four Seasons. So it's a full ecosystem. So you need to have that strategic vision, and you need to be able to also articulate a roadmap for data and analytics, because often you get someone that says, hey, I need this and this and this and this and this. So you got to take that, and you got to be able to translate that into a roadmap, because not all the data is available. Not all the data is in good shape, the data quality, data integrity. And you need to be able to go back to your stakeholder and say, this is great. I understand this is the roadmap. This is how we're going to get there. And beside the vision of analytics, I mentioned the leadership skills that I push my entire team to develop, and whether it's through day-to-day work or it's through training, but you need to be able to inspire and motivate your teams. Communication skills, so important, because you got to have that level of translation. You got to be able to take those numbers and move them into a good and cohesive and consistent story. And also in our space, we want to embrace a learning mindset. We want to have people not spend 120% of their time being over capacity in full delivery mode. We want them to keep that 10, 15% to experiment, to try new things. The business is changing, the world is changing. So how do we push innovation, creativity? And beside that, business acumen, I absolutely think an analytics professional should understand the business they are part of. You know, every single day in our hotels, you have guests that check into the hotel, and their only goal is to be in and out because they have a meeting next day. They're corporate guests, but you also have people that are here to stay for a week and enjoy the facilities of the hotel or the resort. Or you have people that come on the weekend, and the only thing they want is a good place to sleep, but they want to go party and go shopping on the weekend to particular destinations. You got to understand exactly how the business works and operates to build your data products and your outcomes to according to the business objectives. So business acumen is important. Another area that's critical for middle management is change management and influencing. We don't want to be data providers. We don't want to be the individual that sends an Excel file every week. There's no value in that. That will be replaced by automation. We want to be the ones that are partnering and be able to change and influence the way the various departments are conducting their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, even when you mentioned the roadmap, so, okay, how are we going to get there? In and of itself, that's a story, right? Like you need to turn it into a narrative that will resonate with both the individual that you're talking to, but that business acumen comes in because that's the context. That's like basically both the vehicle and the environment where the story takes place, right? So all this needs to click, and without that, just purely like your technical acumen, which can build amazing things, right, it will fall on flat ears, or it will just won't generate the kind of value that you're looking for. So that was really good. Actually, the second part, so now we barely touched on the data quality and integration part, and it branched off from there. But you mentioned these advanced analytics techniques, so NLP, generative AI. So I'm conscious of our time, but we have to talk about it. So with this new wave of ChatGPT, generative language modeling, it's a whole new like burst of excitement and hype, which is not new to data analytics. It's like it's constant hype cycles. But where do you see the biggest opportunities in this and the biggest risks, specifically for data analytics professionals?
So just full disclaimer, I'm not a data scientist. So I think if my director of data science listen to this, I have to be very careful what I say, because she will hold me accountable for what I say. And if I make any mistakes, I have to apologize in advance. I look at all these advancements as huge opportunities for all industries. First, before we talk about ChatGPT, if you think about the role of data science, it's really to bring advanced techniques into interrogating the data. With BI, you are very good. You are in a good place looking in the rear view mirror. But with data science, you want to be able to forecast your business. You want to make sure you understand the key groups of your customers, or your hotels, or you got to do clustering analysis, natural language processing, where you have all this incredible wealth of data across all systems, where you will start getting consumer sentiment out of it. So I see all those being roadmapped. I see all those being classified and grouped into use cases. And as I said earlier, being able to deliver proof of concepts, because not all of them are prime time, and I don't think you are able at this point to fully operationalize every single model your data scientists will experiment with. I think what AI will bring to analytics in particular, so we know what analytics brings to the organization, but what is AI bringing to analytics? I think that's another interesting topic, because tools like ChatGPT, and not only, I think will advance some of the data exploration and analysis. I think we can actually be faster, and we have started looking into that. We're not too far ahead, but we're looking into that. And I think tools like ChatGPT provide a lot of opportunities into improving your data exploration and analysis, being able to coach and mentor the data scientist. And it's really, you can have a conversation with ChatGPT, and I read a lot of white papers that suggest that leveraging the tool, you can actually improve your coding, you can improve your ad hoc queries. It seems like there are some use cases around data preparation and data cleansing, which I'm super excited to explore. But yeah, I think all these tools will get our data scientists in a much better place, and I think it will be a significant uplift in learning and skills development that we will observe in the next 2 to 3 years due to the AI tools like ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. Now that makes sense. And maybe on the flip side of that, another topic that you mentioned that we need to spend some time on would be data privacy and ethics. So a lot of people do see this as like a risk. Of course, some people even like a stumbling block. but a lot of people look at it as an opportunity for data analytics functions, especially in terms of taking ownership of that narrative, and really turning it to your advantage. So with data privacy and ethics, what would you recommend for data science and analytics leaders if they want to prepare for whatever's coming? So how can you make yourself resilient in the face of the changes that are happening around data compliance and ethics? What is your personal take on that?
I would say two things you have to take into consideration. Number one, you have to abide to local laws and regulations, and you want to make sure you're not breaking any laws. And number two is always put your customer in the center. See what the customer truly wants. And if you feel like you're leveraging the data in a way that the customer might disagree with, then you're not doing the right thing. You always have to put your customer in the center of your decision making, and that's how successful companies are really evolving over time. As leaders in this space, we have to prioritize the ethical data practices. We have to prioritize privacy, and we have to advocate for responsible use of analytics. I probably have one conversation a week with various stakeholders where I have to explain why it's not that I don't want to do a particular thing, but it's not the right thing to do. So responsible use of analytics. So as a leader in analytics, you have to be a champion of fairness of the data, you have to be an unbiased decision-making leader, transparent, and always keep that in mind. The data has to be used ethically. You have to put your customer in the center. You have to always be in compliance with relevant regulations. And another interesting, how do I explain this? It's about being proactive. And it's about promoting a responsible handling of the data. So when you have somebody that says, "Hey, I have this cool data set. Look at this. Let's use it," you have to temper and curb that enthusiasm and say, "Okay, let's try to do a legal review, and let's try to go to a data privacy assessment, and let's see if this tool that provides the data is really something that we can use." And it's not always a fun conversation because you are perceived as a blocker. But I think if you position yourself as a leader who prioritizes the ethical use of data, I think long-term you will gain that trust in the organization. So you will get less of a push and more of a ask for guidance.
Do you have any best practices on navigating some of that friction, when it arises? I mean, you have now long experience in probably having been through a lot of those, both when you were probably at lower levels of the organization, now you're in a leadership position. Any best tools on how to make sure that you effectively navigate that friction and maybe even turn it to your advantage?
Yes, and I think this is not necessarily about tools in a sense of technical tools. It's building the right operating model. I mean, I'm very grateful. We have an amazing company with amazing people, and our partnership with areas like legal and privacy is absolutely amazing. We have an amazing group there that's really coaching and guiding us through the local regulations. And it's how you build your interlocks of data. Data analytics, it's not floating. It's really in a very clear interlock in our organization. So I work very, very closely, tied to the hip with our IT organization, and I want to make sure I comply to all the IT governance, and that creates an incredible synergy between the teams. Like, I hear other analytics leaders saying IT is slow, IT. I have one of the the best experience with IT, and they are driver. We are partnering very, very closely together, and also with the business. So we stay very close together. We discuss about the outputs of our analytics efforts, whether it's insights, personalization, activation, self-serve, etc., etc. So I think my only guidance is not tools as in technical tools, but build the right operating model, build the right interlocks, and ensure you educate people, you advocate for ethical use of data, and that's a huge win.
And then I think we will have to land the plane in a minute, but as a final word of advice for aspiring data leaders, so if you look at data scientists, analysts who really want to make it in the profession, who want to capitalize on that opportunity of being in the sexiest profession of the 21st century, as it's often said, what would you recommend them to focus on in their professional development? So what kind of skills they should invest in, what kind of postures they should assume to really make the most of this exciting couple of decades that are ahead of us?
That's a very good question and challenging question. I think every day you should wake up thinking, how can I make a difference? How do I build a data-driven culture in this company? You wake up with that mindset, and I think that's your start. And always make sure you are aligned with the business objectives. Data, most of the time, building a model, building a dashboard is 20% of the work. 80% is really embedding it into the organization, embedding it into the ways of working of other departments. So you gotta push that hard. So align with your business objectives. Make sure you have a very good engagement with your stakeholders. Have one-on-ones, have touch points with executives across all areas, not only your peers or your superiors. I meet with people. I every time I travel and I go to the hotel, I talk to the front desk person to see their pain points and what do they feel when they check in a guest, and how can we improve that experience so we can actually collect better data. So foster those relationships and improve your stakeholder engagement. Collaboration, and learn how to work in an agile, cross-functional manner, because companies are not built anymore as a huge hierarchy. There's a lot of flat organization, and learning how to work cross-functionally is critical. Improve your communication. Continue your learning. Education is critical, not only for yourself, but for your teams as well. And last but not least, I think continue being an agent of change. Change management is important, and work very closely with your business transformation teams, work very closely with your operations teams. Identify proactively your barriers. Like identify who's gonna be resistant to this idea, and work that muscle, work that person until you make the presentation. If you present a new idea in a boardroom, it should be a checkbox. You shouldn't have anyone saying this is the worst idea possible. So you got to work those relationships, and you got to push really hard on change management. And that means actively engage, listen to people's concerns, communicate very clearly about the benefits, and also don't hide potential implications, because you might create more work on some people's portfolio. So I think, if I can close this, if you manage the change effectively, there will be less resistance and full adoption. So your job is almost complete, because you're passing the output of the analytics products to other teams, and now they're running with it. You don't have to constantly knock on doors that seem to be locked. You have everyone else really fighting for you and for your work.
No, I think this is like the perfect note to finish on, and I think we will land the plane right on the dot. Fantastic insights. Thank you very much, Alex. We appreciate you, and we hope to continue our collaboration. Maybe one of the future face-to-face member touch points, member events will be in the Four Seasons. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's try that. Let's try that. And really thank you for the opportunity, and talk to you soon, Laszlo. Thank you. This was great.